Coming to you from the Big Island of Hawaii, it's the Songs and Stories Podcast. And now, here's your host, Steve Roby.
Aloha and welcome to another edition of the Songs and Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Roby, editor of the Big Island Music Magazine, and joining me on the phone is the titan of the Telecaster, Bill Kirchen. Aloha.
Aloha. Good to be here.
Good to have you here, and you'll be coming back to the island, the Big Island, on Saturday, November 12th at 7:30 p.m. for a show at the Hilo Palace Theater. Tickets are available now at bluesbearhawaii.com. Anyway, it's been a long time since we spoke by phone and in person. And what did you do during the pandemic? I think we needed some catching up to do here.
Yeah, it was a whole pandemic ago, which is unusual because it either was about, the pandemic was like a couple months long or a couple decades long, depending on how you remember it, at any given point. So
it's all foggy to me.
It was a wild, very crazy time. I ended up deciding to pretty much isolate as best I could. We have some family in town, and we would have distanced distance parties together where we'd stay. But anyway, my musical adventure during the whole time was a live stream every 2 weeks about, and then what with the other ones I did, it worked out to maybe not for a month, but close. And I got to where I was used to looking at my iPhone up on a tripod and really feeling I was connecting with a bunch of people around. And in this case, it was nice because it was around the world too. And so it was rewarding to me. I really felt connected, and I was able to keep my chops up to a certain extent. It was really about 2 years of that. I'd say.
Yeah.
A year and a half solid. And I made one video of Hammer of the Honky Tonk Gods. We made that socially distanced and masked, except when I was lip syncing to the track, because it was actually to the album track of Hammer. And then and amazingly enough, I was used to doing, I had to stop what I've been doing for 50 years, had to come to a screeching halt, as for so many people. And amazingly enough, I found ways to pass the time.
Yeah.
Life went on, didn't it?
We all experienced that. It was a very strange period. But you're back to touring again, though. I presume you'll be coming here soon, right?
Yeah, I am. I started again at the end of last year, and after being extremely careful, I sure enough got COVID in December. Then I went to, and it wasn't, luckily for me, it wasn't too bad. I'm, of course, thoroughly vaxxed and boosted, as much as I can. So I don't think I really took too bad a hit on it. And then I got it again the second time. I went to New Orleans and played the Jazz Fest in New Orleans, which is just a delightful festival. And I came back with a fantastic straw hat and a case of COVID.
Oh boy!
Yeah, souvenir. But it wasn't. Luckily for me, it wasn't that bad. And,
okay.
When I first got it, it did feel like somebody had subtracted a few years from my birth year. They photoshopped my driver's license, but that's all right. I don't. I'm doing fine. I really have nothing to complain about.
Okay, I've been lucky. Knock on wood. Nothing yet, and
oh, good.
But everybody around me seems to like, where are they? Oh, they got COVID. They'll be out for a few days. Yeah, so yikes. Anyway, on to a more positive topic.
Exactly.
Tell me about your latest CD, The Proper Years.
Well, that was born of the fact that I could not get into the studio and make another one. And what it is we decided to take the proper. Well, the long story is that my guy in England who was making the records with me for the Proper music label the Proper was not only a label, it was a big record distributorship, and he ended up trying for years and finally selling it. And what he wanted to do was take the 3 albums I'd made on the Proper label and put them together under the mark of his new company, which is called the Last Music Company. So that's what it was. And he's still connected with Proper and still, manufactured through them. But it was a great relationship. I tour with the guy. He not only did he run the whole company, but he would, go out on the road with us, with me and the producer Paul Riley, and him, and producer on bass and him on drums, and we'd tour Europe together. So
Nice.
it's a very great relationship, very unusual but wonderful for me relationship. So that's what it was. It was a compendium of 3 albums I'd made distilled into 2 actual discs on a package, and so it allowed me to keep going and keep having something that, because a lot of people really hadn't gotten those yet. So that's what that was, and we put out an LP to go with it called Waxworks, which was pretty much 12 of my original, or 11 of my originals in one Bob Dylan.
And you've got some guest artists on the release too as well, joining you, right?
Right, that's right. The middle of the 2 albums I made was called Word of the Wise, and I called in a bunch of people that I was fond of, that we decided to make it only people I'd actually worked with, or I'd either recorded with or played, on stage together, not just been in the same room with them. So, it was, the people on there were Dan Hicks, the late Dan Hicks.
Oh man, I miss him.
I miss him too, and you being in San Francisco must have been acutely aware of him. He was fantastic.
Funny
Dan
guy.
Hicks.
Oh man, he was so funny.
Funny guy.
Oh.
Extremely funny.
Strange humor.
I'll tell you, a strange humor, and if you looked up irascible in the dictionary, I believe you would see a picture of Dan.
Definitely.
He didn't up till the end. I mean, he got out from under, but he used to drink a lot, and he did have himself listed in the Yellow Pages in Mill Valley under bar fixtures, I want to say. So takes a special man to do that. But he was a talented guy. He was just as the same guy when I first met him in the late 60s as later in his life. But anyway, Dan Hicks, the old Commander Cody was on it. Another Bay Area wonderful artist, Maria Muldaur.
Oh yeah.
I wrote a song for her, and Chris O'Connell had been the main female vocalist in Asleep at the Wheel, the original Asleep at the Wheel. Who am I forgetting? Niccolo, Elvis Costello.
Jorma Kaukonen.
Jorma Kaukonen, exactly.
I hope I pronounced his name right, last name right.
Well, he calls it Kaukonen, but you're pretty close. You got all the vowels correct.
Yeah, I should know that. I should know that. Yeah. Anyway, while we were putting this interview together, you sent me a list of kind of trivia things I didn't know about you, and one of them was that you and Iggy Pop played together in a talent show. Please tell me about that. I'm fascinated about the connection between you and the punk rocker.
Unfortunately, we didn't actually play together. We shared the stage in that we both had bands there. He was in a band that begat his name, Iggy, which was called the Iguanas, not the same Iguanas that later, anyway. Right. And he played drums in that band. And I had a band, which was a jug band. This was 1965. And my band was called the Who Knows Pickers. And... Yeah. So anyway, and Iggy was in my class, and he was an interesting guy. He kind of had his foot in a lot of camps. He was a what we would have called kind of a socially active guy. He was, I think, school treasurer or something, high school treasurer. But he also was kind of a bohemian in his own way. And was a great blues drummer, and later basically just decided to. I remember he went to Chicago and hung around with a bunch of blues musicians, maybe in 67 or 66 rather. And he came back and he decided to put that energy that he'd seen blues players come up with and use it and make teen rock and roll with it. And he was very, very good at it from the get-go. Just undeniable.
If we only had cell phones back then, seeing footage of that talent show.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. Hey,
or seeing pictures. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Let's talk about your upcoming show at the Hilo Palace Theater on November 12th. Saturday. It's on a Saturday evening. What can fans look forward to? I know it's been maybe 2 or 3 years since you've been here, and you played the People's Theater last time, and that was a rocking show. So, what do you got in store for us coming up?
Well, I would say what you just said, a rockin' show. That's what we strive for, and we're pretty good at delivering a rockin' show. It's, I have a whole bunch of original material and it's basically, you would call it roots rock and roll. It isn't there's songs that I made up myself, but it's not like a precious singer-songwriter show. You'll never hear me say shh to the audience, for instance. We like it a little bit loose. So it's good stuff. We've been doing this together for a long time, and in fact, this band is sort of a reunion of a band that I played with my trio. I played with for almost 25 years. We've since lived in different parts of the world. Me in Texas, the bass player in Maryland, and the drummer in Australia. But we've all been flown in to play a wedding earlier on, and so I took the opportunity to play the theater. So it's going to be a band with more hours long together than you can imagine. Many an hour.
What are their names?
Their names are Jack O'Dell on drums and Johnny Castle on the bass.
Nice.
And when I moved to Maryland, I met them in the very late 80s, actually. We played for a quarter of a century together on the road everywhere in Europe and America.
Wow.
So that'll be great.
Sounds
the
like a
original
nice trio.
It's a good trio. The original Too Much Fun trio.
All right. So what's up next for you for the rest of the year, Bill? Are you working on any new recordings, or you touring again, I guess, right?
Yeah, I am touring. I'm doing this, and we've got a big honky tonk holiday tour in the Northeast. I'll try to be a little more careful this time when I'm back still. But I'm working on a new record, which we'll make in the beginning of January. And I don't know when it's going to come out. I think it probably may not come out till the late summer or early fall. And so I hate to even talk about it yet, but I am hard at work writing songs and figuring that out. I just spent the morning with my producer who's in England going over material and working with him. So I'm at it. I'm on it again.
All right. Don't ever stop.
I'm back out of the box.
All right. Well, it'll be good to see you in person, Bill. Looking forward to your show at the Hilo Palace Theater. It's coming up Saturday, November 12th. It's a Saturday evening at 7:30 p.m. The show starts. You can get tickets at bluesbearhawaii.com. There'll be a link in this podcast and on Big Island Music Magazine. Aloha, Bill. Can't wait to see you again.
Aloha. Thanks so much, Steve. My pleasure.
Mahalo.
Thanks for listening to the Songs and Stories podcast. Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. We'll see you next week on Songs and Stories. Aloha.